point and talking about work. What is work? The team playing tennis, having fun. Other teams working hard, studying for our exam. Can tell by their faces which teams do work. Team who is playing tennis is working. It's working hard and about the housing body. While the team who is studying for an exam is building his mind and thought, although that is more powerful, it is not doing physical work. How to define and calculate work? Work is defined differently in physics than in everyday language. Physics, work means the use of force to move an object. The team who is playing tennis is using force to move her tennis racket, so she's doing work. Team who is studying isn't moving anything, so she's not doing work. Not all force that is used to move an object does work. For work to be done, force must be applied in the same direction that the object moves. If a force is applied in a different direction than the object moves, the work is done. Say a person applies upward force when raising it from the ground. Check that. Work is done because force is applied to the same direction the box is moving. However, as the stick person walks from the left to right while holding the box at chest height, the more work is done by the person's arm holding the box up because the force supporting the box acting in a different direction than the box is moving. Small amount of work in the horizontal direction is performed when the person is accelerating during the first step of the walk across the room. But other than that, there is no work because there is no net force acting on the box horizontally. What is the relationship between work, force, and distance? Work is directly related to both, so the force applied to an object and the distance object moves can be represented by the equation. Work is force times distance. This equation shows that the greater force that is used to move an object, or the further object is moved, more work that is done. To see the effect of force and distance on work, compare the weightlifters. Two weightlifters are lifting the same amount of the weight, but the bottom weightlifter is lifting the weight a longer distance. Therefore, the weightlifter is doing more work. The two weightlifters on the bottom right are both lifting the weight the same distance, but the weightlifter on the left is lifting a heavier weight. Therefore, this weightlifter is doing more work. How to calculate work? Equation for work in a given above can be used to calculate the amount of work that is done if force and distance are known. For example, assume that one of the weightlifters lifts a weight of 400 Newton over his head to a height of 2.2 meters off the ground. Amount of work he does this work equals 400 Newton times 2.2 meters equals 880 Newton times meter. Notice that the unit for work is the Newton times meter. This is the SI unit for work, also called joule. 1 joule equals to the amount of work is done when 1 Newton force moves an object over a distance 1 meter. What is the relationship between work and power? Did you ever rake leaves? It can take a long time to do all that work, but if you use an electric leaf blower, the job gets done much sooner. Both the leaf blower and the rake do the work of removing leaves from the yard, but leaf blower has more power, so it can do the same amount of work in less time. What's power? Power is a measure of amount of work that can be done in a given amount of time. Power can be represented by the equation. Power equals work divided by time. In this equation, work is measured in joules, time is measured in seconds, so power is expressed in joule per second. And this is the SI unit for work, also known as the watt. Watt equals 1 joule of work per second. One is named for James Watt, Scottish inventor. You may already be familiar with Watt because the light bulb, small evolutions such as hair dryers are labeled with the watts of power they provide. For example, hair dryer is labeled 2000 watts. It's the amount of power that can be expressed kilowatts. A kilowatt equals 100. A kilowatt equals 1000 watts. So 2000 watt hair dryer produces 2 kilowatts of power. Compared with the less powerful device, the more powerful device A more powerful device can either do more work in the same time, do the same work in less time. For example, compared with a low-power microwave, higher power microwave can cook more food in the same time or the same amount of food in less time. How to calculate power or work? Power can be calculated using the formula above. If the amount of work and time are known, for example, assume that a small engine does 3,000 joules of work, 2 seconds, the power of a motor is power equals 3,000 joules divided by 2 seconds equals 1,050 joules per second, or 1,500 watts. You can also calculate the work if you know the power time by rewriting the power equation above as work equals power time time. For example, if you use a 2,000 watt hair dryer for 30 seconds, how much work is done? First, express the 2,000 watts in joules per second, and then substitute value for the power in the work. In the work equation, work equals 2,000 joules per second times 30 seconds equals 60,000 joules. What is horsepower? Sometimes power is measured in units called the horsepower. Once horsepower is the amount of work a horse can do in 1 minute, equals to 745 watts of power. The horsepower was introduced by James Watt, who invented the first powerful steam engine in the 1770s. Watt's steam engine led to a revolution in industry and agriculture because of its power. Watt wants to express people the power of his steam engine, so he compared it with something familiar to people his time, power of horses. Watt says that his steam engine could produce power of 20 horsepower. Most powerful engine today produce more than 100,000 horsepower. How many watts of power is that? I make a summary. Work is the use of force to move an object. Can be calculated as product of force and distance. The SI unit for work is joule. Power is a measure of the amount of work can be done in a given amount of time. SI unit for power is watt. That's it. Thank you very much. The image scale can number 13 and Allegro Brilliant. and enjoy.